Well, welcome to the Post Sunday app. Thank you for joining us today. Daniel, you have been preaching from 1 John here for a while. We're in 1 John 3, 16 through 18. What does it mean to love my brother? And we were talking just before we started recording here, just that it does seem like this week's sermon, last week's sermon, is really penetrating our hearts quite a bit as a church.
And as individuals too.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to some friends last night, and as I was saying some things about a situation my family's going through, the friends kind of politely looked at me, and I said, "Okay, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking about what I said in my sermon this morning, but this is different.
Right.
It doesn't apply to this situation."
Right. Right.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they were right, and I was wrong.
So you're even instructing yourself here through your sermon.
Yeah. God's word's good, and you mentioned about why you think some of these messages are so impactful.
Yeah, I think this idea of what does it mean to love my brother? What does it mean if I, hate my brother? Is that it's something that I struggle with on a moment by moment basis. I'm continually battling my flesh, trying to die to self, to love sacrificially, because I want to please myself. I want comfort. I want ease. I want my idols of just satisfying myself.
Yeah.
And so this passage, these last few sermons, just put my sinful self in front of right in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
And help me to see my need for grace.
Well, that's not what it is for me. So I don't know what it is for White Stone.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I really struggle.
No, that's exactly right. The idea of, and none of us are going to love perfectly in this life, and so I think what it's good for me is to help me be aware of where my love is lacking, and instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, of course I love that person," for me to say, "Oh wow, I don't love that person the way I need to be. God, please forgive me for this." Ask that person, "Please forgive me for not being selfless to you," and identify those areas where I'm failing, and by God's grace improve. In my love.
Okay. You gave some very practical ways for us to lay down our lives. One question that came in might have been related to the second maybe the first one, meeting physical needs.
Right.
One person asked just that dichotomy of I want to help those with physical needs, but I struggle with knowing am I doing the right thing by giving physical resource to someone? Am I enabling? Yet I don't want to just say be warmed and filled, as you mentioned from James. How do we handle that? What are some resources we can look at to help us take us further down the road?
Yeah, well, obviously, first and foremost, it's a heart attitude issue, and so I examine my heart, and we'll continue to talk more about that, I'm sure, as we think through love and grace in the book of 1 John. We talked about some practical applications of how to make some of those decisions as we went through Ruth, and I'm specifically thinking of when we looked at Ruth chapter 2, where Boaz provides for Ruth. There's some things that I encourage a person, if they're trying to ask those questions, how do I provide for people in need? Ruth chapter 2, some of the applicational points, we talked a little bit about that. There's also a book called When Helping Hurts that you've used, I know. It's by Fickert and Corbett. I'm not sure how to pronounce their names. But our church's Mercy Ministry has taken some principles from kind of their 3-tiered approach, where you meet an immediate need, you do an assessment of what sort of assets and skills a person has, and then you work to develop people in a partnership to develop those resources and skills. And so I think any approach to helping someone needs to take into account all 3 of those facets. There's another book called What is the Mission of the Church? Making Sense of Social Justice, Shalom, and the Great Commission, and it's by Kevin DeYoung and Greg Gilbert. I think that's another good book with some of those thoughts in it.
One of the things you said to me a couple of years ago now, related to this topic, is just I want to err on the side of being taken advantage of. And that's really resonated with me, because sometimes we'll get some phone calls from people we don't know, from the community or outlying community, saying, "I have a financial need. Can Bethany Community Church help me with that?" And we try to do our due diligence to assess how we can best help that person. And sometimes it's not always just cut and dry. Here's how you do it. Here's and well, should we? Okay, and so we do want to err on the side of that maybe we're doing the wrong thing here. That doesn't sound right the way it's coming out, but of being taken advantage of and try to help that person. But that idea that you mentioned from the book, taking someone from relief to restoration, that's always our goal. It's not just, hey, here's your money, can you move along now?
Right.
But how can we follow up with you and care for you in that way?
Yeah, that's good.
So any other thoughts on the sermon? Or we're going to be missing you this next Sunday.
Yeah.
Be away in Texas.
Head down to Texas. Our family's going to be with extended family as we kind of mourn the passing of Whitney's grandpa, and so that's it's sad, but he was a believer, and so we're excited for on that side of things, and it'll be good to remember him with the family. So we're not going to be here next Sunday, and then looking forward to finishing chapter 3. Lord willing, when I return.
Yeah, and Kent Cloder will be in the pulpit this Sunday.
That's right.
So looking forward to hearing him teach. So, all right. Well, thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for tuning in to the Post Sunday app. We hope you've gained from this video, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.